Hello everyone. Welcome to LernenKurvv. Keep the ball rolling.
Welcome to SAP Basic Navigation tutorial. We will walk you through the SAP system with an overview of SAP Logon, screen layouts, generic features and different icons. This session will help the beginners to start using SAP. Let's start with the session. We will cover today's session in 3 different lessons. In Lesson 1, we will learn about how to log in into the SAP system, and different elements of the SAP screen. In Lesson 2, we will learn about different ways of calling SAP transactions. And in Lesson 3, we will learn how to use F1 and F4 help option in case of more detailed information about the fields used in SAP. Let's start with first lesson. Before jumping into the SAP screen, let me walk you through the SAP GUI. All SAP solutions are, however, accessible using a general front-end program, the SAP GUI, Graphical User Interface. The GUI is the standard program for accessing almost all SAP solutions. SAP provides Logon pad to access the SAP GUI program. When you call up SAP Logon, it displays a list of SAP systems for which you can start the logon process. This list derives from a file on the front-end computer, saplogon.ini. This file is normally pre-configured centrally and made available to end users. When logging on to an SAP system, you will be prompted to enter the following information, user ID and password. If you have implemented a single sign-on (SSO) solution, you may not need to enter this information. You also have the option of specifying a client when logging on. The client field usually already contains an appropriate default value. User data is stored in the system by client, that is, you can, for instance, log on to client 100 in your system, but you will not have a user for client 200, even if your system has a client 200. The data for a particular user within a client is called the user master record. When logging on, you can select a logon language supported by that system. On the logon screen, you also have the option of using the new password push button to change your password, at the most once per day. Your system administrator can add additional text to your logon screen. If the same user logs on more than once, then for each subsequent logon, the system displays a warning message that offers the user the following 3 options. 1. Continue with this logon and end any other logons in the system. 2. Continue with this logon without ending any other logons in the system, this is logged. 3. Terminate this logon once you have logged on successfully. The initial screen of the SAP system appears. This screen is also known as the SAP Easy Access screen. Screen structure. The SAP Easy Access screen is the default initial screen in SAP systems. The left side of the screen contains a tree hierarchy of the menus available to you in the SAP system. You can use the right side of the screen to display your company logo. This graphic is made available centrally by your system administrator and cannot be customized by individual users. You can display a typical screen, with various elements, by, for example, choosing System User Profile Own Data, followed by the Defaults tab page. You will then see this screen with the data for your own user. An SAP screen can contain the following simple screen elements. 1. Command field. You can start applications directly by entering their transaction code in the command field. This is hidden as default. You can find the transaction code for an application either in the overview menu on the SAP Easy Access screen, in the status bar, see below, or in the application itself under System Status. 2. Menu bar. The menu bar is the top line of any primary window in the SAP system. The menus shown here depend on which application you are in. These menus may also contain cascading menus. 3. Standard toolbar. The push buttons in the standard toolbar are shown on every SAP screen. If they are not available in an application, push buttons that you cannot use on that screen are deactivated. If you place the cursor over a push button for a short time, the system displays a flag with the name or function of the push button. If appropriate, The corresponding function key setting is also displayed. 4. Title bar. The title bar names the function that you are currently in. 5. Application toolbar. This shows the push buttons available in the application that you are currently in. 6. Checkboxes. Checkboxes allow you to select several options from a group of fields. 7. Radio buttons. You can only select one option. 8. Tab. This allows you to organize several screen areas to improve clarity. 9. Status bar. The status bar displays information on the current system status, such as warnings and errors. You can also change the display variant to show, for example, the transaction code of the transaction you are currently in. Other elements include, for example, input fields and push buttons. This completes the lesson 1 in which we have learned about SAP Logon and different elements of SAP Screen. Let's start with lesson 2 in which we will explore favorites list and user menu, various methods to call the transactions in SAP, and we will also touch base the standard system menu and help. Favorites list and user menu. Once you have logged on the left side of screen you have two overview trees at your disposal for selecting functions. 1. The user-defined favorites list. 2. The role-based user menu or the SAP menu. The favorites list contains SAP system functions or links to internet content or to files on the end user's front-end computer. The favorites list, which is initially empty, can be edited by each end user in accordance with their preferences. You can only view your own favorites list. Since data on the favorites is stored within the SAP system, each user might have different collections of favorites in different systems. Favorites can be organized into folders. You can edit your favorites in the SAP Easy Access screen using the Favorites menu. The Favorites menu gives you the option of adding a function from the user, or SAP, menu to your personal favorites list by selecting the function and choosing Favorites Add. You also have the option of using the mouse to drag and drop. You can add URLs or links to files to your list of favorites by choosing Favorites Add Other Objects. Click on the triangle symbol to the left of the file symbol to expand or collapse the list of favorites. The end user can switch from the role-based user menu to the SAP standard menu, if the system settings allow this. The role-based user menu is created according to the roles assigned to the user and is transferred to the front end. Calling system functions. You have several options for navigating in an SAP system. 1. By entering transaction codes in the command field. 2. By choosing items from menus in the menu bar. 3. By choosing items from the favorites list or from the user or SAP menus. You can use the keyboard to get to the SAP Easy Access screen or the command field and call system functions from there. When the command field is active, you can use the F1 key to display possible entries for this important field. The following entries are possible. 1. /n to cancel the current transaction. 2. /n with transaction code to call transaction directly from another transaction screen. Without the prefix you can only call particular transaction from the SAP Easy Access screen. 3. /o to display an overview of sessions. 4. /o with transaction to call transaction in a new session directly from another transaction. 5. /nend to end the logon session with a confirmation dialog box. 6. /i to delete the session you are currently using. 7. /nex to end the logon session without a confirmation dialog box. System and help menus. The system and help menus are always available with the same options on every screen in an SAP system. The system menu allows you to access various system functions. This menu also contains functions that you can only access using this menu, and not in any other way. You can log off using system log off and display useful information on your system and the function you are currently using, such as the transaction code, by choosing system status. You can use the Help menu to access the online documentation. You can also display the release notes and configure the standard settings for your F4 help. This completes the lesson 2, in which we have learned about favorites list and user menu, various methods to call the transactions in SAP. Let's start with lesson 3, in which we will look into the F1 and F4 help options along with online documentation. F1 help: you can use the F1 key to display an explanation of fields, menus, functions and messages. The F1 help also displays technical information on the relevant field. This information includes, for example, the parameter ID that you need for setting user-specific default values for input fields that are also linked to the parameter ID. You can also display interesting information by, for example, calling the F1 help for the command field. F4 help: you can use the F4 key to display information on possible input values. You can also call up the F4 help for a field using the button immediately to the right of the selected field. If a field contains a tick symbol, you can only proceed to the next step in that application after entering a permitted value, required entry. You can use transaction or screen variants, or customizing to mark fields as mandatory or optional, hidden or filled with hidden standard values. The F4 help displays a list of possible entries for a field. If there are a large number of possible entries, a separate selection screen is displayed. If there is a long hit list, the F4 help only displays as many entries as the user has specified on the F4 help tab page under Help Settings. The default value for the maximum number of displayed hits is 500. Take the time to familiarize yourself with the other settings you can make here. Online documentation: the SAP library is a useful aid to getting to know system functions. It allows you to access the online documentation. The information stored here does not simply describe how to use system functions, it also explains system architecture concepts, gives examples of how you can configure various processes, and warns you about possible user errors and their consequences. The online documentation also contains several tips and tricks to help you carry out common tasks more easily and quickly. You can also access the SAP library on the internet. To do so, go to help.sap.com, or look under www.sap.com Education SAP Help Portal. You can access the full product documentation for all releases here. A user-friendly full-text search by solution is also available.
Thank you for watching LernenKurvv.